I'm Owen Bigland. This is the Inside Edge video blog. I'm going to do one more blog here before I put this to bed on the NDP's new strategy to tax everyone to death to try and cool this Vancouver real estate market. So now that everyone's had a chance to digest a lot of the information, it's funny how the pendulum now, in my opinion, is completely shifted the other way. When I first started blogging and saying it was just a tax grab, the speculation tax is not a speculation tax, it's just a vacation home tax. I got a little bit of pushback from people saying, oh, this is great. NDP is going to help us cool the market and help me buy a house. Now, if you've been watching the news, listening to the radio, reading the newspaper, as I say, the pendulum has shifted all the way to the other side now. I cannot find anybody with even a bit of common sense that thinks that this tax is going to do anything to cool the market here. As a matter of fact, Andrew Weaver was on CKNW a couple of days ago, flat out saying that the speculation tax is nothing but a vacation home or second home tax, and he even says it will have zero effect on cooling the condo market in Vancouver or on the Lower Mainland here. So let me just give you a couple more bits of information here now that it's come in. Then I'm going to put it to bed here and we'll revisit it maybe later this fall, because I'm not a fan of doing these blogs. I've said it before. I've been through this so many times over the last 30 years. Governments come, governments go, taxes come and go. This will be a non-event 2 years from now, mark my words. But a lot of my viewers on my YouTube blog pointed out last month that this speculation tax, or what I would call a vacation home tax, this was meant to only be taxed against foreign buyers or people that do not file taxes in the province of British Columbia. But as it turns out, that's not the case, as some of my viewers pointed out last month. Take, for example, a guy who lives and works in Vancouver here, and he earns $100,000 a year. He has a house in Kelowna that he's owned for the last 15 years that's now worth $1 million, let's say. He's going to have to pay a $20,000 speculation tax next year. If he earns $100,000 a year, he's only going to be paying about $6,000, $7,000 provincially. Because as people know, for every dollar you pay in income tax, the bulk of that goes to Ottawa, and maybe 15 or 20% goes to provincial taxes. So Carol James was pressed on this several times. Her eyes just glazed over the first few times. I don't think they realize how taxation works in Canada and how you would have to be earning $300,000 or $400,000 to offset that tax if you're a British Columbia taxpayer. As I say, you're not going to be paying, how that tax is going to be administered, you're not going to be exempt. You're going to have to pay the $20,000 tax. Then when you file your tax return, you'll get a credit back for provincial taxes paid. But you're not going to be earning, unless a guy's making $200,000 or $300,000, he's not going to be paying enough tax provincially to offset that tax. So now the NDP has finally figured that out. Andrew Weaver was on CKNW a couple of days ago, and I give the guy kudos. I'm not a fan of the guy, but hey, at least he's honest and upfront. Here he's got a coalition with the NDP, and he thinks this thing is a fiasco. He wants the speculation tax done away with. It hasn't been thought through. And if anyone thinks it has and it's going to do anything to the condo market or help cool the stratified market in the Lower Mainland, you're dreaming. It's not going to do anything. So, even the NDP, they're calling for $80 million to be created this year, $200 million next year, $285 million the year after that. Well, if this is such a great tax and it's going to do what it's supposed to, that number should be going down, not going up. It's just a tax grab, plain and simple. Now, I look at this speculation tax here as really just an extension of the empty homes tax, which has been in Vancouver in place here. It was announced 9 months ago. Everyone's been filing their declarations the past 4 months. The deadline was last month. How has that worked out for everybody? So with the empty homes tax in Vancouver, the word was, when they announced it last year, that there was something like 25,000 empty homes in Vancouver, in the city of Vancouver. Well, those numbers just came in. They were published in the Vancouver Sun and the Globe and Mail. It turns out we've got a fraction of that. We've got something like 7,000 homes right now that are declared as empty, although a lot of them just haven't been filed. They haven't filed the declaration, so we don't know how many it will be, something less than that. But let me ask you this. This empty homes tax in Vancouver was meant to do a couple of things. It was going to drastically increase the amount of rental units available, because if it's sitting empty, people would be forced to put it on Craigslist and rent it. It was also, if they didn't want to do that, they were going to sell it, and it was going to drastically increase the supply. So how has that worked out so far? It's in place. It's been enforced for 6 months. Everyone's had to file. I filed my declarations back in December. So as a realtor, I can tell you, and as a landlord and investor, I'm on Craigslist, or my assistant is, every single week looking at rent prices, because I've always got units that are coming up for rent, and I also advise my investment clients on what the current rents are for the buildings they're in. I can tell you that there has not been any spike at all in rental units available. As a matter of fact, I would say in the last 3 months, rental supply has continued to stay at near zero. I can tell you as a listing realtor, there has not been any spike in the number of listings. If anything, in the last 3 months, inventory has continued. It's already at record-setting lows. It's continued to stay gone even lower than that. So the empty homes tax has had zero effect. I don't know why this, what they call speculation tax, which is just an extension of the empty homes tax in Vancouver, how that's going to have any difference, make any difference. It's not. So you're going to see here the mayors of Kelowna, of Victoria, all these mayors are coming out now saying they want to be exempt from this speculation tax, because it's not a speculation tax. So only time will tell. This isn't going to come into place until this fall anyways with the NDP. They've now admitted, the last news I heard yesterday, they're going to revisit these things. They are now finally figuring out that we haven't thought this thing through, and we're going to have to make some changes to this. So I'm going to put this one to bed until later this fall, but mark my words, I think what's going to eventually happen is a lot of areas like Kelowna, any BC taxpayer who files a tax return will be exempt from this if they have a vacation home or a second home they're using, because they're just simply not paying enough provincial tax to offset the speculation tax. I think as well as, regardless if you file taxes in British Columbia, if you're a Canadian taxpayer, you'll also be exempt from this. So the guy that lives in Calgary and has owned a vacation home for 20 years in Kelowna, he's going to be exempt. It's dumb. It's not going to raise any money. It's not going to do what it's supposed to. Because think about it, a speculation tax. Speculating is buying and flipping, or buying and selling in short order. This speculation tax isn't going to affect those people, because this tax is an annual tax. This is penalizing people who are buying and holding properties. They bought a vacation home, they use it 4 or 5 months out of the year, it's been in the family for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. They're the ones that are hit. The speculator who wants to buy a house in Victoria, fix it up and flip it next year, he might trigger that tax once and that's it, he's gone. So it's not a speculator tax. The other thing, of course, is people can rent these out. You know, hey, if you got an empty house in Richmond, I've talked about it. I've got clients that live in the US and they've bought homes here in Vancouver and in Richmond, and they're planning on eventually moving back up here and retiring. In the meantime, they use these houses in the summer. They let friends and the kids use the house. They're now faced with this speculator tax. Now, some interesting stuff that came out. Well, the government's saying, well, you can rent it out then. It's not that easy. Many of these stratas that these people own in either A, have a full rental restriction, they don't allow rentals, or it's capped. They might allow 10% or 15% and it's full. So they can't rent it out. So the government now, are they going to force them to sell the property in order to avoid the tax, or force them to keep it, leave it empty because they can't rent it and pay the tax? This thing is a mess. It's not gonna fly. It's gonna have to be revised, so we'll see where it goes. So I'm gonna leave it at that for now. Again, we'll wait till the summer. We'll see where this goes. It hasn't been thought through. When you've got the opposition or the coalition leader in Andrew Weaver, who's supposed to be buddy-buddy here with the NDP, even he's come out publicly saying this tax is a fiasco, it's not gonna work. We've got a problem here. Now listen, I've said all along that I want to see the playing field leveled as well. I would love to see them clamping down on speculation flippers and guys buying pre-sales and designating them as principal residents and flipping them continuously. The real problem, of course, as I've said, is the massive amounts of capital flowing in from places like China that's unchecked. I haven't heard anything about doing anything with stopping the Quebec investor program, which is minting thousands of new investor class foreign buyers with their permanent residency status and passports who are able to buy property and designate it as a principal residence. So that's a loophole that will need to be stopped. So these are the things, and also the abuse of the principal resident exemption. Go back and watch my blogs that I've been doing for the past 2 years. That is what is going to level the playing field. This speculator tax, this tax on luxury cars, increasing the PTT from 3 to 5%, this new absolute crazy tax grab called the school tax, which starts on homes of $3 million and goes up from there. I'll give you an example. On a $5 million home now on the west side of Vancouver, you're going to pay another $20,000 to this school tax on top of your regular property taxes. If that isn't a tax grab, I don't know what is. And guess what? That money does not go to schools. That goes into the general coffers of the NDP to spend however they see fit or waste however they see fit. So, you know, the only thing that this taxes have done is they've kicked the guy in the head who owns luxury real estate in the province. So if a guy has a $5 million home he's trying to sell, drives a Ferrari, he's a business owner, this new round of taxes probably just knocked another $150,000 off that house in a market that has already been beaten down and is off 10 to 15%. The detached market is tough right now. But that is not the market that we really need to cool. You know, the guy that's got the $5 million house and we've just kicked another 100 or 150 grand. We need to cool the condo market, the first-time buyers, the one-bedrooms, the two-bedrooms, the townhomes out in the Fraser Valley. That is 98% of the market here. And these new taxes aimed at the rich, this tax grabs, they are not going to do anything for that. So I know people want to believe that the NDP is going to help us, and the NDP threw these things out here, didn't think it through for optics. They want to make you think that they're doing something here. But they're, as I said in my video last month, they're just kicking the can down the road here. It's just looking like they're doing something. And now, if you read the newspapers and listen to the radio, the pendulum is now shifted. People now have digested this tax and they're realizing what's happening here and how BC owners are going to get caught up with this speculation tax. Not to mention just the optics alone, that BC is closed for business. This was picked up by some media. I saw some stuff on Bloomberg talking about this unprecedented speculation tax, and even they wonder, what the heck is this provincial government doing here? How is this going to cool the market for the average Joe who's trying to get his foot in the door on a $500,000 condo? It's not. Just like the empty homes tax hasn't had any effect on the market as well. This market will cool. It naturally will always cool, and I'm going to do some blogs on what a natural market correction looks like. I've been through many of them. Interest rate hikes, inventory will go up. Maybe they will get a handle on some foreign capital coming in unchecked. Maybe, who knows, maybe they'll stop the Quebec investor program. That would definitely put a damper on prices. So we'll see. I'm Owen Bigland. As always, I'll see you next week.